Hello, everybody, and welcome to the NPC panel here at PAX Online. I am your moderator, Roberto Villegas, and let me go ahead and give everyone their chance to introduce themselves, starting off with the person to my, I have to literally think in my head because I'm watching the screen, to my right.
Hi, I am Vincent, known as DJ R.O.C.K.M.A.N, host of Nerdcore Nights. I do Soundtrack Saturdays on Twitch and run, actually, the panels for the Magfest Jam Space for PAX South.
All right, and to right below him is...
I'm Shubzilla. I am a rapper from Renton, Washington, and also one of the co-hosts for the Seattle edition of the Friday Night Get Down.
That's right, of course. And to my left...
Hello, my name is Creative Mindframe. I have not thought about how I'm going to introduce myself, so all I will tell you is that I make rap songs and just funny songs about things that I find amusing in my life. That's it. That's what you get.
Seems about appropriate. And below him is, of course...
Hey, I'm Raheem, a.k.a. Mega Ran, future rapper, some people say hero, live streamer, and pretty much everything right now. I'm like an octopus of rap these days.
I think that's everybody these days in terms of content creation.
Yeah.
Everybody do the octopus.
Everyone do the octopus.
There you go.
Everybody in chat, feel free to spam with the emotes of octopus. Will be there. And of course, we are all part of the NPC Collective, which is a conglomerate of nerdy people of color that promotes inclusion or marginalized people, traditionally non-diverse nerdy spaces. Basically, where you don't seem to see people with last names like Villegas or skin of a darker tone, we tend to want to have people like us in those spaces. So that way, not only can you see more people like us, but the people who are in the audience that don't tend to see people like themselves on stage, they get that as well. Since this has been a kind of a weird time, because normally at a time like this, most of the people on this panel would be performing, would be either playing at a PAX or another festival. In fact, I would be potentially helping out with a festival. There's other conventions I would have gone to. And ever since lockdown, and we're just going to leave it like in that description, everything's kind of changed. And I felt it was interesting to have a lot of creatives on this panel to sort of talk about that and go about how this shift has gone. And I guess I should start off with a little bit of a broad question. How have you we'll start with Vincent and then feel free to anyone chime in after that. How is sort of like switching to performing? Because I know you, Vincent, have right now at times like these, especially on either Saturday or Sunday, knowing you personally, you'd be DJing right now and like at a club somewhere.
Yeah, that is very true. Especially in the lovely state of Texas. Just there's so many shows I would be doing from literally maybe Thursday till Sunday, and it would be at least 2 shows a day. It has been a dramatic change. But I was streaming and doing DJ sets prior to that, so it hasn't been too bad for me on that end. But the challenge is definitely now there's more DJs jumping into the platform of streaming and trying to like match time frames with other friends or even other members in crews. Like, hey, I don't want to disturb your set if I'm playing here, let's try to keep it balanced. It's a lot. And I just got to work with it the best that I can. But it feels better because now I don't have to deal with drunk people for bad requests that ask for Journey every time. That's what I worry about. So it feels very good to be at home right now for a second and be like, hey, can you play Don't Stop Believing?
I'm surprised you don't get that in your chats.
It's like, better stop believing I'm gonna play that.
So what's funny is instead of getting that, what I get is, hey, play this track that I just made. I'm gonna send the link to you.
Oh,
so
God.
I have my bot automatically like, no.
that is definitely interesting now that we're kind of in this streaming thing. That now you're having people like here, like you're now having that live experience of somebody handing you the CD or the cassette tape in every stream. What about you, Shubs? How is especially going from being more on the performance side, stage-wise, coming now to doing streaming side of things had worked out for you?
So I'm at home more. Sometimes I don't leave the house, and that's, I guess, okay. So that's one thing that's changed. But I'm finding that I now have more time to play video games. So on my streams, not like on my Shubzilla channel, I'm usually playing through some game, which is really nice because they've been on my bucket list forever. And then when I go over to Bill Beats' house, my partner in crime, we end up doing a lot more music work. So he'll have a night where he's creating multiple beats a session, and then we have our work session where we create a 16-bar song, and then we have our music reviews with the rest of the Noir Grime family. So in some cases, we are definitely very limited. Like, we don't have any live performances. Our entire schedule for that has been shot. But it has offered us some opportunities to get to know some of our fans a lot better, and also reach out to another community that otherwise wouldn't know us.
That's actually been what I've found really cool about a lot of the streaming things is you start to get a little bit more intimate with a certain audience, and you get to see a lot of the mistakes and issues, and people sort of doing things. As I look to my immediate my left at a man whose screen is falling down. But it's interesting because you bring up the idea of seeing communities and things like that, and that's what I have almost found ideal, is because the internet is this worldwide thing, this 24/7, 365, never really shut down type thing. You tend to now see audiences of people who normally wouldn't have gotten to go to a live show.
Yes.
Like I have watched like chiptune acts out of Europe that I've never seen. I have met new artists who I'm like, this is amazing. I've heard all like the people out of Korea, people out of Japan, people I would never see perform. And that being said, also I'm able to see a lot of other artists who I'm like, I've never been introduced because they've never either come to town or no one's ever said, here's this. And I think that's definitely a benefit of streaming. But let's go to Manny, who's finally got everything now set up, creative mind frame. What has been sort of the challenge for you? I mean, I know you know, at least on the side, you do have a day job, and so you do have other things
On the
to
side,
do.
I know, right?
On the side, on the real, you do have a
Side
day job.
I spend like
Side
12
job.
hours a day working.
But I do know you perform, and you enjoy that, and you wouldn't be doing that without it.
Yeah, I think I've missed out on 3 shows already since COVID. Oh. I mean, everything happened at like such an interesting time, because we had COVID hit, then we had, the murder of George Floyd. I don't say killing, I say murder, because it was a murder.
Absolutely.
And it really started having people show their true colors. And so between COVID lockdowns, the murder, and then I started a new job actually about 3 months ago, it was very mentally taxing, right? And if you go and listen to any of my songs, they're all really funny songs. Like, they're very lighthearted, just crack a lot of jokes. And so I probably had until about a week ago, from, would that be March, April, until about a week ago, I didn't make a song. I didn't even really touch anything creative, because it was kind of in this mood where I was like, the world doesn't deserve to laugh. Like, this is what we've become. Like,
I mean,
and so,
yeah.
I mean, as you see now, I've just in a week, I've bounced like back to a lot. I shot a music video last weekend. I finished a music video that I didn't finish after Adam Sandler stole one of my songs. I have a streaming setup now. Like, so it's definitely a pivot, especially like for somebody who my strong suit is definitely not my technical rapping skills. Like, my strong suit is my personality and like how I just genuinely enjoy connecting with people. And so not having conventions is literally like my Achilles heel, because I'm like, well, I can't make a bunch of cool songs. Like, I can make some funny songs, but it's not the same as when you're there in person at a show, or like, we hang out after a show or something. So it's definitely taken a lot of pivoting and like a lot of refocusing to, how can I still capitalize on my strengths, but at a lesser extent.
Well, because I think that's there. As much as I've enjoyed the streaming and things like that, there is a different energy, and I know this from seeing you guys perform live in various functions in various atmospheres, whether it be at a convention, whether it be a show at a bar, et cetera, that there is something that you gain from the live audience that as much as we want that from a streaming, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to get the same emotion. You're going to see people throwing up emotes in a Twitch chat that you are going to see people typing and responding. And I'm actually curious what Rand has to say, because I know that right now, if everything was appropriate, you'd probably be playing at a PAX right now or something similar in some capacity.
Yeah, I'd be about to play PAX and then about to go overseas. We had a Europe tour plan with Young RJ and Slum Village that was supposed to happen next month. So yeah, it's really difficult. And then the other layer of it, much like what Creative Mindframe said, I pride myself on the interaction portion of my show and just being able to talk to people. I call myself the most huggable rapper, but for crying out loud,
very
true. In a post-hug society, I really had to come to a come to Jesus moment. Like, wow, like what are you gonna do now? Like, wait a minute. Like, so much of, I get fan mail or just supporter emails all the time, or just like, dude, you took an extra 5 minutes to talk to me after a show. You didn't have to do that. You hugged me when you told me, or when I told you, that I had just, gotten some bad news. You were there, and we were able to have a really good connecting moment. And so now without that, it's really forced me to pivot big time to figure out some way to continue that level of interaction. And then also to find a balance of when is too much interaction, so I feel like now with me going heavy on Twitch, I love it, I enjoy it, but a part of me still thinks like, wait a minute, is this too much exposure? Like, do I leave myself overexposed to the point where now if someone wants to reach me, they can go on Twitch, they don't have to pay any money, and they're able to have a conversation with me. And so how does that inspire someone to cross from there to Patreon or other things that actually do put money in our pockets? So it's a really difficult, delicate thing that I've been trying to nurture, and just working my way through it slowly but surely. I learned something new literally every day, in this new life, and I can't say that before, where I was literally picking up a new skill or trying a new thing every day. So that part I'm extremely positive about. But yeah, I do wonder, how much interaction is enough and how much is too much, so I don't know. These are things that keep me up at night.
Well, no, that brings up kind of an interesting thing, and we can start with Shubs on this, only because like you bring up sort of like that being an interesting challenge, the idea of how much is too much streaming, how much is too much interactivity, especially in a world where, not because you want that barrier between you and the audience, but because there's a certain, it's this idea of how much time do you give to the audience versus do you give to yourself, and family, and anything else like that. Like how, I guess I'll start with Shub. Like, what's been the biggest challenge for you in terms of getting, going from a more live performance based to now a streaming kind of thing?
The biggest challenge is, just as we've discussed, not getting that feedback back, right? So when we're on stage and the four of y'all know that I get a little rowdy, I get a little loud, just a little bit. So missing those folks that come in, they're like, I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that, like right there. I do miss. And at the same time, what is good about what we're doing now is that people that otherwise wouldn't be able to go and see us live if they're out of state, or if they have some anxiety being around crowds, they can come enjoy the fun, and they can be in the show, they can be involved in a safe space for them. Another thing that has been a challenge also is that I have a child who is growing rapidly. So, and she's tall, y'all. She's tall. She's 13 months. She's tall. I'm very proud. But, you know, finding those times that work where we, meaning myself and my husband, we can find the times to really be present and there for her, and still have the times where he'll game or he'll video edit and I'll stream, or I'll go over to Bill Beats' house to do some work. And what I'm finding is that a lot of times when I'm streaming solo, I'll have to do it a little later at night so that way we get maximum Babby time. And we can still create and cultivate the communities that we're trying to on Twitch, and that we are.
Yeah, no, and I think it's important to have that time. You know, to like it's so hard when in streaming, especially now, because you're literally a click away from broadcasting whatever, from going and saying, you know what, and then you start to look at games differently, where you say, is this a game I could stream? Is this a game I don't stream? Well, if I play this game, am I wasting time when I could be streaming and building up subs and followers and all the stuff I need in playing that game, which is very much a separate game than even music is, and then going, you know, like that, or like, again, like I think a couple nights ago, Rand was streaming him making a track, and, you know, it was interesting to watch the creative process and whatnot, but it's something we never would see. But the question is that too much? Should we be seeing this? Is this something that should have been a mystery? I guess I'll go to Manny next in terms of like that. I know you're starting to enter this streaming thing, but what has been kind of the challenge, especially now pivoting to that?
Oh my gosh. So the biggest challenge with me and streaming, and this is why I've always told people I would never stream, is because I get ultra concentrated, and then I get I can get very competitive and kind of angry.
Salty
games.
Salty.
So yeah, so like these test streams that I've been doing, I've been trying to figure out how to keep my language completely clean, because I curse a lot too when I'm playing.
Just put the mature rating up there. Just put the mature.
I mean, you know, I want to make it friendly for everyone, and then once it's on the internet, it's on the internet. So you know,
forever.
So I've been testing that, and then I've been testing like, how do I like talk myself down from getting super mad? And I'm not like I'm not like yelling at the mic at people. Like I'm just like yelling out of frustration. So those are the two hardest parts. And then like trying to talk. So I've basically just been like explaining what I did, and like why I did it. So like in Rocket League, I'll be like, oh, I did this because I wanted to redirect so my teammate could get the ball, and I can grab their boost so that I can leave them without boost, like so stuff like that. And then the other hard part was if I don't feel like I want to do something, I just don't do it. That's kind of like, I think that's being the middle child, you know, growing up. Like there wasn't really any push. It was just like, you just do something, and like nobody really catches you doing it. So you just do it until you don't want to do it anymore. And so I never had like a thing that I wanted to do on Twitch. And so then when I had the idea of playing the games that I usually play on Xbox on PlayStation 4, and just like doing a chronicle of the progression of the ranks, you know, from no rank to trying to get to where I am on Xbox, I was like, that sounds like a fun idea. And so, you know, I'll start doing it like probably every Wednesday. We'll see how long it wait, does that conflict with anybody's stuff?
I have my podcast, but
I'll move it. No. It's not even set yet.
I want to join you. I want to join you that same time. That's why.
I mean, I just balance of like no one wants no one wants to broadcast when everyone else is broadcasting.
Exactly.
And then you realize everybody's broadcasting at the exact same time anyways, and there's nothing.
R.O.C.K.M.A.N brought that point up, and that's a really big thing for us. Like it almost feels like I think I made a reference to that in the song back in the day, Eyes on Your Own Paper. It's like you fight for everybody in your crew to be able to be to be seen, to be heard, to be respected, to go get gigs. And now you get to the point where we're all competing for the same gigs, you know, which I think is a good thing. You know, it's a good place to be, you know, so ultimately you want that type of good competition. But, but at the same time, like I never want to like step on anybody's toes with broadcast schedules. I'm on every day, 3 to 6. and that's usually it, unless I'm feeling like doing a late night thing. And Wednesdays I've been taking off lately, unless I'm doing a specific, random house show where I have a guest and we do some talks and music. But yeah, like that's another thing, like having a schedule, so important, and I think that's the biggest thing I've learned in streaming. Is like, stick to your schedule, because
it's broadcast. It's like television. As much as we talk about the time shifting and the ability to like watch things at whatever time, people still like that familiar feeling of, oh, it's 3:00. It's time to watch blah. It's time to look at X, Y, or Z. And that's being in a schedule like that for the audience is very much important and definitely works into that. But there is that challenge of being like broadcast television, because it's like, again, like TV, in as much as everything is happening at the exact same time and there's nothing you can do about it. And you have to kind of just understand, saying, well, I could try to cannibalize this when you're, it all depends on that kind of thing, what game you're, because it's such this like floating thing of like what game you're playing, what you're doing, what category you've marked yourself as. It's all you're now playing an SEO battle that is an entirely different thing than you normally would be when it comes to performing, because you just have a set block. It's like, cool, I play it, at this time frame, and then after that is the next artist and such thing.
Well, see, luckily a lot of us as a group here, we all have separate time frames, so that makes it a little easier for one to the other. Like, that'd be different if we're like, most of us were all in like Texas or like East Coast or something like that, and there's like, oh yeah, it's gonna conflict because everybody's playing at like the same exact time. So like, luckily, for example, like Mondays, I do Mega Mix Mondays, so I play before Rand plays. So then he goes to Monday Night Rand, and so that's just a perfect thing. We don't want to collide like it's WCW versus WWE all over. I want to have that Monday Night
the counter programming.
That's what I want to see. I want to start
New World Order.
Maybe that's what I should start doing, is just counter programming stream while y'all play music. I'm like, all right, let's play the really weird indie game right here that no one's going to watch in any capacity. But if you really don't want to watch music, we'll just do this. You'll know I've lost it when I'm like starting to like, let me show you how to make chiptunes. I have no idea what I'm doing. That's when you know it's over in terms of counter.
But there's
that
one
would be
thing about
amazing, though.
It would be great, though. I really want to see that.
That would be fire. I would want to see that.
But one good thing that I've learned, though, is that if you stay dedicated to the thing you do, like, you will find your audience. And there are people who come to Twitch for music. There's some that come for cooking. There's some that come for just chatting. There's some that come for RPGs. There's some that come for retro gaming, speed running. Like, there's literally a category for everything. And so that actually can be very, I think, encouraging, because if you stick with what you do, like, you'll find the group of people, and there's a community. So you take the time, like anywhere else, like when we were going to shows back in the day. Before I played my first gig, I would go every week. I would support. I would talk to people. I'd shake hands. I'd pass off a CD. So it's the same thing. Go to the streamers you respect, and you hang out, and you're a part of the community, or you're having conversations, and I think from then on you become a part of that, and that will blossom. So it's really kind of the same as going out, in that you still follow a lot of the same order of operations for stuff. But I had a question for you guys, including you, Roberto.
Absolutely.
So in this era of live streaming events and things like that, how do you think, and everyone here can answer, how does that affect the mission of the NPC Collective, if any, and how does that affect, or how should that affect the everyday operations of a group who is generally trying to, expose the world to more, more diverse people doing cool stuff? So how does that mission change?
I mean, I already have a thought, but if anyone else wants to start first, I'm more than happy to defer time.
I was
think-
going to say maybe we should let him go first, because he's been asking all the questions.
You go first.
Give him the
That's
chance
fair.
to answer first.
Well, what I think, especially the interesting thing about, we've talked about this, the idea of streaming, is that you start to see different people from different areas of the world and different parts of things, especially when you wouldn't see at a convention, you wouldn't see at a show in Texas or a show in Missouri. You start to see people from Japan, people from Korea, people from Europe, people from anywhere in the world. And a lot of the times when I think about diversity and sort of promotion of people of color, a lot of times it's just seeing that they exist. As sometimes that's just as important, if not more important. And I think with streaming, a strategy, especially when it comes to NPC, and that I've appreciated from this idea of having that, is you're now kind of putting these people on the front. You know, you have the ability to, depending how popular are, whether Twitch approaches you, say, hey, do you want to be on the front page? Or you start to see people start, retweeting stuff, and you start to join things. You have a tendency, if you're streaming now, being kind of remote, that you're a lot easier to say, yeah, I'll be on your set, or I'll be on your show, and that show may be an IGN thing or something way bigger, just because now you're remote, you don't have to really think about the logistics of things and stuff like that. And even more so, you may find artists across the world who are, that, especially like, and I've found a while back, I posted something on Twitter because there's certain genres of music I don't see a whole lot of people of color in, one of them being my personal all-time favorite chiptunes. And I posted on Twitter saying, like, hey, what are the people of color that are in chiptunes? Because someone like replied to help me kind of get that list. And I got this amazing feed of people doing awesome covers, people doing their own interpretations. I have found, every walk of life in chiptunes because of lockdown, either through a stream or through just a Twitter post. And I think that is where the mission is still the same, because ultimately, at the end of the day, the mission of the NPC is to put people of color in places that you normally don't see them, even though they exist. And I think streaming feeds into that, where you have this, especially like right now, in this little section of PAX, where normally be on stage, we're here at stream kind of live, that all these people are doing that and finding other people. Like when you, like he's not here, but a fellow NPC member, IQ, has always been, like, for his sets, have had people of color on there and have hunted down and looked for and invited them and got them on stream and the stage. And I know everybody here, when they do more of a set, has also had that same approach where, if it's like, oh, I can have a friend on here, I can have, my the usual nerdcore people. But if I see somebody who normally wouldn't be on stage, that they see some kind of talent, there's a lot easier way to say, cool, would you like to be on a set? Because it's a live stream thing and it's not as difficult logistically.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I think that it boils down to the why behind our mission statement. And if anybody was at the MagFest panel that we did, the one where Xavier was there, right? Mm-hmm. The biggest push behind that mission statement is really to encourage people to believe or have the confidence in themselves to do something that maybe they think, oh, I can't do that because there aren't people like me who are doing that, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I honestly think that the mission doesn't change, right? We still have to push for that representation.
Yep.
The difference is now that things are moving online and to these different platforms, is we're decentralizing the decision makers, right? Whereas it once was dependent on, maybe 2 or 3 people in a music department making a decision on all of the musical acts to bring, and then maybe 5 or 6 people making a decision for all of the panelists to bring, right? And that would be, those 6 people would determine who potentially 20,000 plus people would be exposed to over the course of the weekend, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And with the push and the move to using platforms like this and doing things on Twitch, Facebook gaming, right? People are seeking out now. It's really what they're looking for. Like Rand said, you will find your community. So people are looking for things they are interested in. And so as long as they find people who intersect with those interests, right? It's not up to 6 people to decide, okay, what are the people who are going to come to this convention over the weekend going to enjoy? Now it's a person going on the internet, and it's literally on a case-by-case basis where, or person-by-person basis, where they can find the right person that they connect with. And we have the opportunity, just by being there, the chances of them stumbling upon us are, 100-fold versus what it would have been 10 years ago at a convention, right?
Yeah. That's true. Because I get to do that every Wednesday when I do my podcast with a comedian buddy, Coach Roberto. Coach. So we do our podcast, Weeba Bros, and we get to introduce like cosplayers, people that work in the gaming industry, that are people of color, and something that you don't get to see on a daily basis in a lot of other podcasts or a lot of shows when you are going to like PAX or any other gaming convention or anime conventions, because you know they don't want to show that off too much. So it's great that I get to do that at home, and we get to choose who we want, and it's not always just strictly just NPC, like just people of color. It's like, hey, let's get somebody within this community, but we can focus on the people that don't get that proper attention, because like how you said, Manuel, they get to choose. You get those 6 people, they get to choose whoever, and usually it's not a lot of people of color that they bring out. Here it's a lot easier. We can do what we want, and that includes everything that I do. Like when I do Mega Mix Mondays, I can choose whoever I want to do a full set list of music, because I want to show off those people that don't really get the attention, or get the love that are amazing artists, or when I do my band camp, days where I just show off my entire collection of like, hey, here's these amazing artists that are people of color from around the world. We get to choose that, and we don't get restricted like how I would get restricted if I was doing something else. South by Southwest.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
It's like that's
true.
hard. South by, luckily I get to run my own showcase, but I get to pick and choose the artists that I feel like, hey, you have potential, you're awesome, you're amazing, I want you here. But South by is not running my event.
Right. But there's also a
And
logistical idea of people having to fly into Austin, and it's
Yeah, and that's
easy to
true.
say, here's a Zoom link, here's a Discord link, just come in through that way, and we'll stream what you got, or even setting up an your own real time kind of server type thing.
Yeah, and it is a lot. Like I said, it is a lot easier. And then, but it's now you can bring out more than what you used to. Like you can bring out more people or different groups that are like, hey, I know this person from Gearbox. That was an amazing person. That they have some information about the industry. That a woman of color. I had that in my last podcast, and it was a very good conversation. So I enjoy that we can do more here than we and less limited than what we are whenever we do cons and events.
That's what I was hoping to get actually out of a lot of the questioning, is that we can do more. Like the sky's the limit almost at this point.
Yeah.
Because and I tell people this all the time. Like I mentor a few younger artists, and I always tell them like, this is the time right now to reach out. If you got any sort of dream collabs in mind or things you want to do with people, everybody's at home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's home. So this will be the time to reach out, go shoot for the stars and see what happens, because, the worst they can say is no. But
Lupe Fiasco, if you're watching,
hey, he's
can I get
home.
you on a
He's
track?
home. He hits Instagram live like every morning, so he's
There you
definitely
go.
home.
I'm gonna have
So,
to hop
like,
in the comments.
Hop in the live, man.
Yeah,
But
DJ
yeah.
Kubert, can you help me out, bro?
I mean, throw it out there, man. I tell people all the time, like those pie in the sky dreams is the time. It's definitely a time to continue to build skills and learn, but also a time to reach out, because
Well, the worst they can do is say no. That's the worst they can
collaboration
say.
is key, and I think that can help put a whole lot of things into motion and perspectives, through collaboration. I've always been a big fan of that.
Yeah.
Well, since we're on, normally at a panel in real life, we'd be asking the audience some questions and having a bit of a Q&A, but obviously we can't do that because we're recorded and you guys in a chat room. And
You right there. You
Yeah.
at your computer. Your question.
Exactly. Have that
You right there.
So I kind of wanted to simulate that a bit, have it be, have it be, almost like this is this is not the live audio experience, this is but a simulacrum of what that would be, and really not that great of one. But either way, I asked over Twitter and Facebook for a couple of questions to ask, like what would they would ask artists in lockdown, especially with this whole streaming concept. And so I have a couple of questions. From Shnogo on Twitter asks, what have you learned about yourself during this period of social isolation? And it's definitely a broad question, but I felt it was an interesting one to ask. Manny, it sounds like you have something already.
I have a really so everybody's like, oh, you must be going crazy. I realized how much I love being at home. Like I apparently am a homebody, and I did not realize it because once I started working, I was traveling so much and I thought I enjoyed it so much. No, I really love being at home, and like apparently I'm not as extroverted as I thought and as everybody else thought I am. And I guess like I'll have to caveat it is I'm married, so I'm here with my wife.
Right.
So I'm spending time with like the person who I said I would spend the rest of my life with and enjoy spending time with. So there's no right. I'm not like completely alone, but I thought I might end up going like kind of stir crazy at some point, but no. Apparently, I just I play video games. I've rewatched the Tournament of Power from Dragon Ball Super yesterday. Like I'm just living my best life.
Bro, just catch up on One Piece, man, please.
No, I just
Oh
can't.
my
It's just
God.
It's too much. It's too
I
much.
even like skipped and went to the manga, and even that, like, I was like, this is just too much.
Actually, you can finish it in 3 movies.
God, that's definitely been the thing I've learned about myself is just like I have definitely become, like you talk about anime. I've much like you. I've learned that I'm already new kind of homebody and whatnot, but I have been finding like mangas and new animes to watch and new series to watch, and kind of excited. Usually during this period of time, there wouldn't be like soccer on. I'm definitely a huge English Premier League person, and I already know.
Don't remind me.
Hey, look, Europa League, it happens, man. Man United had to lose, I guess. I know your
Don't
team.
do me
Don't
dirty,
get wrong. I'm
man.
happy Man City lost Champions League. We're talking about sports, so we're gonna leave that there because there's probably like about 5 people in the chat. I'm kidding. There's probably more people in the chat room than European
Sports
soccer
fans.
and football and things like that. But yeah, that's definitely been the thing I've learned about myself is just the kind of content I tend to hunt out. Like I've been watching animes that have just started coming out on Netflix. Like they just started up recently the new Pokemon series, Pokemon Journeys, which is a really interesting take of how they would typically do a Pokemon kind of thing, having 2 lead characters. Beastars, if you haven't watched it on Netflix, is amazing and one of like the more interesting things, especially if you enjoyed things like Zootopia and wondered what would happen if it was animated out, because that's literally what it feels like at times. But I've definitely found that I find myself now figuring out the different pieces of content that I would want to watch, and things I normally wouldn't have watched on in video form, that or rewatching things again, either classic ones. Like the other day, I rewatched one of my all-time favorite movies, Ronin, and I hadn't watched that in such a long time, and I forgot like how well shot, how action-oriented, things like that has been. What about you, Shubs? What have you learned about yourself?
I have a very low threshold for tomfoolery on the internet. I have a very low threshold. So when I'm streaming, for instance, on Twitch, sometimes I'll get creepers. I'll get people that will say unsavory things. And luckily, I have a community of folks there that they'll shut it down, and they'll mock the other person away. But I'm very quick on the ban button, because if I'm playing a video game, I have no time to engage with somebody that wants to try me. So the block button has been a thing. I've unfriended, unfollowed, and blocked people. When I get spam on some of my beauty selfies on Instagram, I start engaging very aggressively with spammers.
Right.
And, I've been seeing a lot of really bad parking that I also post on Instagram.
Still the best. Still the best. That is
The best.
Yeah.
Best.
And even in these trying times, people can't stay within the lines.
Yep.
I mean, they can't even put masks on, so
Yeah.
we could
No,
have
that's
an entire
fair.
discussion of what people
What do we
can't
expect
do.
from people? Yeah.
Yeah, we could have that giant discussion.
Uh,
Rand, what have you learned about yourself in isolation?
Well, I thought I already knew it, but yeah, I'm kind of the opposite of Emmanuel, where like I really do like traveling and getting out of the house and like moving around, and I really crave human interaction even more than I thought. So
This is a man
sometimes
with
it
a
is.
song dealing with like not going to a party.
Yeah. It's like, okay, if I have the choice, I do great with choices, but I do terrible with no choices. That goes like for anything, like a menu or at a restaurant. The more choices, the worse I am. I'm just like, ah. But then when it's only one thing, I'm like, but I gotta do that again. So but I've learned a little more about my resolve as well. I feel like right now I probably work 100 times more than I work, 100% more than I was before. And but yet that energizes me. Like I get exhausted at the end of the day, but I feel really good about myself after a good day's work. Whether it's 3 hours streaming, 2 hours prepping a podcast, recording, doing whatever. I feel really good about the work that I put out. And I think that, like I feel the pressure of having my back against the wall. And I think that really brings the best out of me. So the stuff I'm writing now, I think is some of my best stuff. Being able to do so many different things now, I feel really proud of what I've been able to just like learn, in the last few months. So yeah, I think overall just learning a lot about my resolve. Like when the chips are down, like I'm gonna make a way, and I'll even surprise myself, with that.
All right, lastly, Vincent, what have you learned about yourself in isolation?
So mine is completely different from everybody because I am an essential worker. So I technically have to be out. So I still get human interaction, but it's literally from a far distance though.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, y'all get away from me. But the thing that helps me a lot now too, though, is I get to work out more. So I've been losing weight. So that's been a very good thing. Lost 30 pounds already, and I need to get more. But it's the biggest change. Like I said before, is just because of me being a DJ, I don't do the clubs. And even if they're asked for like, hey, we're gonna do an event here at the club, I'm like, no, I'm not doing it during the pandemic. I'm just not happening. So I had to push harder to do more on streaming, which I don't mind. Plus, I get to make more Gundams. So I can't complain. So I get to do that now. So
I got my Death Side custom over there.
Yeah, I'll be doing more streaming of that too. But it's just a little different for me because of me being an essential worker and just I get the interaction, but also where I stay at is not the best place because it's a very heavy, not a lot of black folks spot, and I will see signs of stuff that I'm like, okay, yeah, not fun. So I wish I could just stay at home a little longer. But it's not too bad. I do what I can. Got to pay my bills some way, but I still get to have fun and interact with my community on Twitch, especially because I do very obscure stuff, which is great, especially with like the soundtrack Saturdays. I have a community that's like, oh, I get to hear video game and anime music that I never heard of, and it's like, oh yeah, here you go. Like it's really cool stuff that I can do. So it made me dig deeper into my crates. That's what I should say. Like I've been digging like deep into my music, and it's just now I need more space than I needed in my life for music, because I'm literally like, oh, bye. Oh, let me listen to this, and I'll just keep picking up more music. And I think my collection right now in Bandcamp is no less than 2,500 albums.
I don't even want to count mine.
Wow.
Mine is probably scary. That being said, I have found some really interesting chip stuff around the world, so it's definitely increased the amount.
Yeah.
So the other question from John on Facebook, and this is what I thought was just interesting in terms of as we talked about it kind of the show. His question is, what would it take to make telepresence intimate, like in a show, like a show in a small room? Which I definitely thought was an interesting idea, because like the one thing about a lot of these live streams having sort of a Zoom thing beyond dealing with the idea of like quality audio, whatever, like how would you you take to make that. And I guess I'll start with you, Shubs, if you have a take on this. Like, how do you? Because I know that when it comes to shows that I've seen, there's the difference between playing a giant conference con stage versus say a show like during like South by Southwest during the day shows that Vincent would throw. So how would you approach that, like in the era of telepresence, where anything can happen on a live stream?
Anything at all.
How to make that more
intimate.
engaging?
Yeah,
Okay.
more intimate. Like is it like, imagine the difference between, again, if you're on con, I say like a convention stage because that's usually like the big giant one where you see the crowd of people versus a small bar where you see like maybe 100 people.
Okay, I see. I was gonna say, whoa, do I need to light candles in mine now?
Well, that's a question. That's also part of it.
I'm not lighting candles. There's a lot of fire hazards here. So one thing I often do is I'll kind of like look at the camera, all that stuff. And if I'm, for instance, gaming, I'll talk to people and just we'll gossip. We'll make fun of the protagonist of the video game. Or if it's something like making a song, one of our 16-bar songs, sometimes before we get started and Bill Beats is creating the beat, I'll just kind of gather some inspiration from the audience and let them know, oh, that's a great idea. We're gonna make the song for you and I. We're gonna write about this right now. And then at the end of the song, it's like, okay, this is for us. Everybody else missed out. They're gonna have to watch the VOD. We got the organic energy. This is our song, So things like that where I declare this is our thing. This is what we do because we're live, we're here, we're interacting online, and this is something just for us. And everybody else can miss out on it now and catch up on it later, but we were here making magic. So that's how I do that.
All right. What about you, Rand? How would you approach sort of making, especially you being an interactive artist? I mean, we all are interactive, but there's call responses, things that are a hallmark of yours. I mean, one of your well-known concepts in a show is doing a freestyle where you're looking at objects and generating a rhyme on the fly. How would you approach sort of making this streaming telepresence idea like a way more intimate kind of experience, like a small room?
Well, Shubs is right on with like eye contact. I think is really, really key. Like just giving that camera the eye. The gaze is about as intimate as it can get. When you're looking at a screen and someone's right there looking at you. But yeah, with the freestyle, I like to get people in the chat saying words and moving, and I let that dictate the flow of the song. But I think for future stuff, I feel like maybe they'll at some point. I think when someone gets the perfect live stream concert vehicle going, I think like having an applause button or something for people to be able to like tap to get noise to happen behind you or something, or like a cool meter or something. Also with Zoom, I mean, you're able to bring in people that can have their photos in. So I think having like a cheering section would be a cool idea. I've been thinking about. The NBA's doing that now.
I was just about to say that, like how they have the live stream.
They have a live section.
The Premier League, when they had their Project Restart, they had like the big giant jumbotrons with supporters on there while the games were going on, completely closed stadium. So there've been definitely different ways to awesome. Give that at least that simulation of still being there in the show.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't want to give too many ideas to the next big thing, but
I think everyone's had these ideas.
But I do feel like it's going to happen within the next 5-6 months for sure.
Yeah,
like someone is going to prepare the next evolution of this of live concerts, and it needs to be interactive. Like I just feel like musicians thrive on that live feedback.
Yeah,
and so there has to be some way to capture that, or I feel like these things are going to go the way of the dodo. Like someone's going to watch 2 or 3 of them and be like, yeah, I'm done. Like I can't, not that you need to dictate the action in any way, but I can't feel immersed, you know? And so whether it's VR, I know people have talked about VR ideas. I would love to see that stuff, continue to evolve. But yeah, like I have a bunch of different little things that I think will be cool. So as I go on with performances, I always make sure each one is different. They're themed differently. When I do sets, it's like, okay, this one is about me traveling through space, and now in between every song, there's a skit about me in space.
Yeah, that's definitely been interesting seeing you
just trying to be creative.
Like what movie are you channeling this radio announcer from? All these kind of weird things which have been
it's all these different things that have been in my head forever, turn into skits, so even for this past Nerdcore show, like I had an idea but I stopped it because I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it but not this time, I'll do it next time. So I got some really cool ideas, so I'll make sure that every performance feels different in some way. And I think that it's going to take musicians, performers, creators, even public speakers, just being a little more creative with what they're doing, in order to keep stuff like this interesting. By now, I mean, we're probably all exhausted from the thought of a Zoom conference, so let alone wanting to sit and watch one, so I think that it's, like the more we keep our thinking caps on, like we can really evolve this into something really cool. And I think someone like us is going to be on the front line of that. It's going to be an indie artist, someone with a lot of like intuition that's going to create the next cool thing.
Yeah. So we have about 6 minutes left. So Vincent, I think you're going to have the last word, and that'll be the last question we can take. What is your take on making it, especially being a DJ where you're dealing, like you mentioned, with drunk people during a normal day, where it's like, can you play this silly song? And I can only imagine like now it's can you play Megalovania? Can you play that Megalovania cover?
Yep.
Sorry, I know with the popular songs, there's always a joke in OC Remix that everybody would cover Chrono Trigger's the music that's playing during Zeal, and there's like about 120 different covers of that one song. So I'm well aware of what the video game crowd will ask.
So like to keep it interactive on my end, on my stream, what I usually do is and I just added some other stuff because since I want to lose weight, I'll start mixing and have people make me like do push-ups and stuff or do the Carlton dance because everybody knows I like to do the Carlton dance. Like just stuff that's like it'll keep them focused and going on there. Another great DJ that does a live stream is Illcat. What she does is she lets her chat room, which I've seen this interaction, it's super dope. She's just like, hey, party down. They have edits where like, graffiti and stuff is just falling down randomly in front of her screen. And then like, she'll just hit the air horn and everybody just goes crazy. And just like, you'll get random emotes going everywhere and people just having a good time. And her, like, she keeps her group just constantly going for almost like a 2-hour set. And we've been in the works of me doing that as well, just so it's keeping the crowd, interested. They don't have to leave, but also just me playing stuff that you usually don't hear keeps a lot of people interested. So like me not playing the same, like, hey, let me play that same Chrono Trigger track that everybody else and their mother been playing. Let me play like Excel Saga's ending song that's a weeping dog singing that he doesn't get eaten. Like just really weird weep stuff, but it works though. It really does. Like when I did that, and then with Jessica Calro, the voice actress for Excel, just came in and she like brought in all her people. Oh, nice. Everybody are partying and just having a good time. So it's just you definitely have to find new and intuitive ways to just like keep everybody going. And it is weird just because as a DJ, I don't get that feel either of people like dancing, grooving, having a good time, and then like getting into that mode like, hey, I see all these people, happy with one another. Let me play some slow jams here for the ladies. Let me play some real old school Wu-Tang for the men. And let me play some weeb stuff for my weebs that I see out there. It's just like, I don't get that feeling either because I don't know who's who sometimes in my chat, especially if you're getting a ton of people that are just barely hearing about you. But it's just the way it works. But I do the same thing. Eye contact, joking around. And my favorite thing to do at the end is like Marvel movies, I'll say stay for the credits. So like I'll let the music play and then I'll come out of nowhere and just start doing a goofy dance and then like go back to stream ending. So it makes it interesting. that you don't see that a lot.
Right now, we'd be definitely getting PAX screaming at us. We have like 4 or 5 minutes left.
Oh,
and
someone will be holding up a sign.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I want to make
Five.
sure before all that everybody got the chance to plug their streams. I don't really have a stream to plug, so we'll start with Vincent, then go and follow the same kind of a way we close this whole thing. So Vincent, where can people find you online these days?
At vmoney48 on Instagram and Twitter, and then on Twitch, twitch.tv/DJ R.O.C.K.M.A.N, all lowercase slurs.
Shubs, where can people find you?
All over the internet at Shubzilla, also noirgrime.com, and twitch.tv/Shubzilla and noirgrime.tv.
All right, what about you, Creative Mind Frame?
And sorry, I don't have a hat anymore, as you can tell. I was battling. We had windstorms coming through, and I walked in the backyard, and our umbrellas were torn out of the ground. So that's what I was doing. That's why I ran off abruptly.
Oh, no.
But it's good. We're good. Everything's in the garage. But you can find me at Creative Mind Frame on pretty much everything: Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Twitter, all of those good things. And yeah, so I'll be streaming and all that fun stuff a couple times a week. If you like Apex or Rocket League, that's where you'll see me doing.
And what about you, Ran?
Easiest place to get me is probably patreon.com/MegaRan. I do 2 songs a week on there. We do private streams, Discord chats, all kinds of good stuff. And I am on every weekday on Twitch at twitch.tv/mega_ran.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us here at the NPC panel, and thank you to PAX Online for letting us make a panel here. And that it's definitely a weird way to do a PAX panel, but honestly, this has been a blast. So thank you all for watching, but stay tuned to whatever's next on this channel, because I'm sure the presenter or presenters will be awesome no matter who they are.